Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host, and boy, are we going to have 2 hours of fun today. It's time for, and I think it's been a while since we've done it. Oh, we played one not too long ago, the Flannel panel. It's time for the Flannel panel. We played one that we did. It was a recorded edition of the Flannel panel. So we're back to live. We're back to live Flannel panel. Flannel panel is when Chris Check, Joe Heschmeyer, and I put on flannel shirts and we talk about the news of the world from a Catholic perspective. And when I say put on flannel shirts, I'm just using the broadest definition of the word flannel. Joining us from the Midwest, Joe Heschmeyer. Hey, Joe, welcome.
It's so good to be here. I will just share with you what I share on the air what I shared with you beforehand, which is if you type into Amazon a flannel shirt or flannel summer shirt, the top results are plaid shirts that are linen and not flannel. So the confusion between
it's Amazon. It's Amazon that confused us, Chris.
It's universal.
Also,
exactly.
Chris Check here, president of Catholic Answers. Hello, Chris Check.
I tend to exercise much more care about what I type into the search bar.
You do? You're
You
more
should probably cut out the care, and it would still be a true sentence.
Yeah, if your definition of flannel is flannel and not flannel, then the two of you meet the definition.
Is it too loud in here for you guys? Here's the deal. I am getting to the age where I don't know if it's me or if it's the world when it comes to noise. Everything seems too noisy to me. I don't like restaurants in many cases. I might enjoy the restaurant. It might be good food. I might be happy with the people there. But almost invariably, the music is too loud. I find social events, sporting events, all kinds of things too loud. It feels like there's no space for silence. I'm getting it to our first story for today. But I wanted to check with you. Am I just becoming old? Or is it getting louder out there? What do you guys think?
I think it is both.
You are getting old.
What a good Catholic. Well, I guess I'm definitely getting older. Yeah, I guess that wasn't very hard.
That we have with what's it called? Total moral certainty.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Oh yes.
Yeah. No,
so
the world is
OSHA
definitely
says. Oh, go ahead.
The world is definitely getting louder. I think of I can't go to a Padres game anymore because there's when the play stops. The music starts. Or actually, Joe and I were at a hockey game, which was a lot of fun in Kansas City. It was a ton of fun, but honestly, my ears.
It's hard to take.
My ears were ringing at the end of it.
I had a similar experience. I wanted to see SoFi Stadium, the beautiful stadium, the multi-billion-dollar stadium they built in Los Angeles. So my son and I went to a Charger game. It was almost unbearable to me. It never stopped. There was never a time where I could just talk to my son. Never, not once during the whole time we were in that stadium. It's not quiet anywhere. So, Joe, you look like you want to say something.
Well, yeah.
Are we too loud for you,
There's
Joe?
actually yes, exactly. OSHA says 80 decibels, I think, is the standard at which it's actually a health hazard to be repeatedly exposed to noise at that level. Now, I mean, look, if you've got little kids, there's a good chance you're already, it's too late for you. You're going to get the hearing damage.
They're destroying your hearing as we speak.
Exactly. But yeah, there's soundprint.co. You can look up your city and see what the loudest and quietest venues are. And the loudest venues are, a lot of them, it's not just concert halls, it's restaurants.
I love these people who did this. Because
yes.
I hate going to a restaurant. And my wife says it actually, because she's such a loving person. She goes, because she doesn't care. She knows I care. She goes, what's your quietest table? Can we have the quietest table?
Here's something. I will not eat in a restaurant because there's visual noise too.
There you go.
If it has a TV set, I will not eat there. I don't care.
We're maniacs.
Oh, yeah.
We're a society of maniacs, and it's getting worse. But here, this brings me to our first story of the day: news of the world from a Catholic perspective. Where do you go when you're looking for the news of the world? You go to People Magazine. So, are you too familiar with Sephora?
I was with 10 guesses. I wouldn't have gotten that.
You wouldn't have got People Magazine? You didn't think we were going to open with a People Magazine story?
Sephora is that wicked store that markets makeup to 12-year-old girls who are influenced by Instapin.
See, I'm from Boston. Wicked means something different to us.
Oh,
but okay.
Well, I mean, that's one of their chief clients.
Is that what it is? I don't know anything about Sephora.
Girls who have been influenced by other women or young ladies on.
So then you go and get the stuff
it's not Instagram. What's the other one? Okay,
Yeah,
that's
or
the one,
TikTok.
TikTok.
Or,
yeah,
or-
TikTok. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have to go buy the makeup.
My
Yeah.
children were talking about how they got to face talk with their cousins recently, and I thought of you, Chris, because
Does he call
like
it
a
face talk?
4-year-old, your knowledge of like the
Face talk with me later.
various
Yeah.
media.
All right. Well, I was going to say that I love Sephora, but it's only because of this headline from People Magazine. Story by Angelique Brennes, published July 21st this month in People Magazine. Sephora announces global quiet hours to create a more inclusive shopping experience. Emma Miller of Love on the Spectrum helped introduce the initiative by sharing the experience through social media. Well, that helps build up the quiet. Social media is what we need for more quiet in our lives. A lot to cover there, but let me just read you a little more. I mean, a lot to respond to already. Sephora is introducing a quieter way to shop. The beauty retailer announced it's rolling out quiet hours globally, introducing designated shopping periods with lower music, reduced sensory distractions, and a calmer atmosphere designed for customers who prefer a less stimulating environment, which I believe is everyone, but I don't think they have figured that out yet.
I mean, I have to wonder if the noise isn't on purpose. Meaning, there are ways you can deaden the amount of sound in a place. And I think restaurants are purposely choosing not to do that because
Why?
it'll feel dead. I think because we associate a certain level of background noise with the dining out experience. Like if you went into a restaurant that was just quiet inside, it might feel lifeless.
I would go there
And
every
I think
day.
that they're worried.
I would go there every
know.
day. It would be my daily. I got to just go to my quiet restaurant if they would just be quiet somewhere. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
I do know one restaurant that's quiet, and we go there quite a bit, actually.
I thought Joe was going to say something suspicious about this decision by Sephora.
All right, so tell me, why are you suspicious of it?
I don't know if I am or not, and I'm sorry to sound like I might detect some cynicism here.
Okay.
Listen, I don't think retailers do anything at all that is not related to making more money.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
All right.
and so this has a certain air of virtue signaling, I guess, because we're trying to make the store more hospitable to people who, who was the woman who helped?
Her name,
So she's on the spectrum.
yes, she's from the TV show Love on the Spectrum.
So she herself has autism.
I would assume so. They're very fond in People Magazine of the term neurodivergent. So
Yes.
that would seem to be what she's.
So you can't say autism.
No, you know what? This is such a scam of magazines coming up with new ways to say things all
I
the
want
time.
to say what you
So-
can say. I want to say what you can say.
But neurodivergent is a good word.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's
That's fine.
Yeah, but yes. So this is for the neurodiversity community. Yes.
Is that a large community?
I think it's huge myself. I think I'm in it. I think it's so much bigger than anybody. If it involves people that don't like noise and light shows everywhere they go.
Okay, well then
I think it's a huge population.
And then I am completely squarely in the middle of neurodivergent also.
right.
Unfortunately, I'm not shopping for lipstick.
Well, anymore. Congratulations, Chris. No, well, you never had
can buy
daughters.
lipstick for other
You
people,
never had
yeah.
No, it's
daughters.
true. I didn't.
so-
Yeah. I think this is great, and I hope more stores do this. Whether their motives are cynical or not, I would like to go into more quiet stores. I would also like to suggest that stores, in addition to adopting quiet hours, adopt closed hours when they're closed. So, for example, Sundays.
Oh my gosh, I know that would contribute.
Yes.
Joe, do you remember this when we were in Germany? They were telling us about how Sunday is not a day for doing stuff in Germany. Do you remember?
Correct. It's like very much a family day.
And like
It's weird as much as we can lampoon the Germans for having lost of faith, in certain cultural ways, they're
way more Christian
obviously, obviously Christian.
There's a
whereas
lot of
we are more
Christ-
obviously capitalist.
So I think there's actually a lot of Catholic momentum in Europe, and whereas the United States started as a Protestant sort of / Enlightenment country, those things didn't get. They didn't have quite the
Hold.
history behind them.
Yeah. Because in Germany, it's clearly it's not a matter of a renewal of the Christian spirit. It's a habit they never lost.
Well,
they held on to Sunday is not a day for commerce.
2 years
really hard.
2 years ago, the Czechs were in Vienna for Holy Week and part of Easter week. Everything in Vienna was closed on Easter Monday.
God bless them.
I mean, Sunday, yes.
You can't get people to close on Good Friday in America.
Easter Monday.
No.
So
They play baseball on Good Friday.
grocery stores, everything. And then when Christine and I were headed to the airport, we ended up having to spend an extra day in Zurich after our cruise. Everything in Zurich was closed on Sunday. Restaurants were open. And there was a little convenience store in the train station. But there was no retail shopping.
I think Joe and I suffered tremendously in Germany because I think we got there. The Sunday we got to the town we were going to was, I think, Pentecost Sunday, if I remember right, Joe. I might be wrong about what the feast was. And restaurants were closed. We had a terrible time finding a restaurant because it was.
Yes, that's
and so
right.
I think I'll tell you about the suffering. I think we ended up having to have pizza and ice cream for dinner.
That's right.
I'm
very sorry.
It was the only thing that was
so
open.
rough.
So
Until recently, you couldn't buy booze in the whole state of Minnesota on a Sunday. Any alcohol.
Well, around here,
the blue laws.
On the Kansas side, you can't buy it Sunday afternoons. You can only buy it during church. I don't know. I don't understand what the thinking is there. They stop at noon. It doesn't really make sense.
they make you choose? Like, I could
Exactly.
it's booze or the church.
Maybe it's in case you're about to start mass and you realize you're short. You need to get more sacramental wine. I don't know. It's pretty strange.
This is something that all Flannel Panel listeners can do. If you're troubled by stores being opened on Sunday, don't shop on Sunday.
Yeah,
Oh,
true.
that's a good
If
point.
there's no
That's
economic incentive to do it, then people
Just don't stop on Sunday. And maybe it will move the needle. Maybe it won't.
Well, 2 years ago.
To your point about Sephora, if I may,
Yes.
I wanted to get back to the thing you said about like autism rates and ASD, autism spectrum disorder, are way up. And there's a lot of debate about why, and I'm purposely not going to touch any of that debate.
It's vaccines.
But in 2002, looking at kids who were born in 1994, the rates were about 1 in 150. This is the CDC's data. In 2022, looking at those born in 2014, so 8-year-olds then, but getting to be right in that age where they're buying products at Sephora they don't need now, 1 in 31 rather than 1 in 150. That is an enormous increase.
Well,
like a 5-fold increase.
that's terrifying.
So what are the? I know some people do attribute this to vaccines, but some of the science there isn't present. But there are a lot of hormones in foods. This one gets blamed from time to time.
There's also some arguments that just said we're reporting more cases that wouldn't have been reported before.
Sure.
It can be a little, when you say spectrum, a lot of just being a nerdy boy can read as on the spectrum, but where you have a little trouble relating to people and you're super focused on trains. It's like, well, who isn't? Come on. Maybe that's self-reporting. I don't know right there, but
Well, the thing about it, okay, so let's say if maybe at a certain point 50 years ago, you would say, well, that person's odd. That's what you weren't around then, Joe, but we used to say things like that. Oh, that person's odd. And now that person might have a medical diagnosis. Well, that's an advance. We've made progress there. But it seems that society didn't make progress as far as being a place where people could function who were out of the norm. So I'm actually glad some attention is coming to this noise thing. And like Chris said, the light show, there's video screen pollution everywhere. This is not good for us.
There's a pizza chain.
I'm sorry.
There's a pizza chain here in San Diego. They actually make pretty good pizza. OG's.
Yeah. Oh, TVs and sound everywhere. Yeah.
If we get pizza from OG's, we just do takeout.
Yeah,
because
you can't go there.
Cannot go inside. You can't.
Some people can, but I think those people are the actual divergent ones. So I gotta take a break. But I just want to finish with this point, which is we've made the world inhospitable, and if people who are neurodivergent are saying, hey, we can't go to Walmart if you've got all this crazy stuff going on, and I'll read you a little bit. We can come back if you want about what Walmart's doing. I think that they're helping all of us. Like if we make a place that's welcoming to the person who can't handle the noise or the lights or can't, step over extremely high stairs. There's a way in which it makes the place more hospitable to all of us. Yes. And I find this really good. Yep. And if you own a restaurant, please turn it down. We'll still come eat there. You just turn it down. All right, I got to take a break.
Very quick. Okay.
Go take the break or...
Yeah, okay. I was going to say something very fast. The Kansas City International Airport has a sensory room for people who are overwhelmed by the noise of just an airport.
No, they should have a loud room where if you want to, everything else should be quiet. Like, stop it.
You've got airplanes. There's only so much you can quiet that whole thing down.
Yeah.
But it's great to just have a room where if you need a space to decompress, you don't need a diagnosis. Just go in there to be quiet, and then you can kind of recover. It's also a good place to pray, by the way.
Yeah,
it's a good place to sort of get away from the hubbub.
That's right. Don't get me started on airports, though. We'll take the break. We'll come right back. More Flannel Panel, where we talk about the news of the world from a Catholic perspective on Catholic Answers Live.
Hang on. Catholic Answers Live will return in a moment.
Support for Catholic Answers Live comes from Catholic Chemistry, a dating app for Catholics. Founded by a longtime member of the Catholic Answers team, CatholicChemistry.com.
Are you a coffee drinker? If so, you can now enjoy a coffee roasted to perfection by the Carmelite monks of Wyoming. Delicious Mystic Monk coffee is roasted and prepared by monks in a hidden cloistered monastery and is available in over 25 varieties. All Mystic Monk coffees are works of perfection and labors of love. For more information on how to purchase Mystic Monk coffee, visit mysticmonkcoffee.com. That's mysticmonkcoffee.com.
Mother Angelica had a simple goal when she began EWTN: to reach the world with the gospel message. EWTN broadcasts the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass live every day, plus the Daily Rosary with Mother Angelica and Father Benedict Groeschel. We've never wavered from our mandate to proclaim the truth and majesty of the Catholic faith. Thank you for joining EWTN in this mission.
Welcome back, Catholic Answers Live. Joe Heschmeyer, apologist extraordinaire, author of many wonderful books, including The Eucharist is Really Jesus, The Early Church Was the Catholic Church, and many others. One of our guests, and Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers, one of our guests. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. From time to time, we put on flannel shirts.
Some of us do.
I knew it. And we talk
actually one of us.
Joe and I both forgot.
No, I didn't forget.
We're flannel divergent.
You guys have been saying you forgot for the past 8 episodes or whatever.
The last time all three of us had flannel shirts. The last one we did, all three of us had flannel shirts.
On the cruise.
That was on the cruise, yes. So, all right, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a quiz on rudeness. The Guardian, the liberal newspaper, the British newspaper.
Yeah, the one that has a fundraising thing at the bottom of every article.
Yeah, because you got to fight the
tyranny,
the powers.
Yeah.
And the Guardian is going to do that for you. Yeah, give to the Guardian. That'll clear things up. Sorry, Guardian. That's a little bit unconvincing. By the way, I go to Wikipedia sometimes. They also seem to be short of funds, and I have no intention of helping them because to me they seem very biased. I don't. Am I alone in this camp?
It's gotten really bad. You get a small group of really passionate people with way too much time on their hands who are really controlling about what you are and aren't allowed to say. And it's like, hey, you are undermining the whole spirit of Wikipedia in the first place.
And that's one thing we don't want to do, Joe, is undermine the spirit of Wikipedia. All right.
I'm just saying the original idea of Wikipedia was great.
Yeah, that's right.
It's completely been thwarted by...
I often feel the main problem with the world is people.
Actually, Joe is identifying a social reality here. And I don't like these shorthands, but we're short for time, so I'll just say... It is a trait of the left to be more active. right? I mean, Pascal says.
Well, you know the old joke about wwhy that is. Because right-wingers have jobs.
Well,
But that's that. I'm sorry.
yes.
It's just a joke. It's just a joke.
Well, but no. Pascal says something along the lines of most of the problems in the world are caused by people who are not content to be happy at home.
That's right. Yeah. I think that's very much.
So there is a spirit of I don't know, whatever you want to call it, change, agitation, that doesn't tend to exist in
the revolutionary spirit, the
Yeah.
helper. I'm going to help. I'm going to make the world a better place.
here to help.
Almost nobody. Well, it's
Jesus tried to make the world a better. He did, in fact, make the world a better place.
No, Jesus actually
He
did.
did-
Yeah,
he
right.
actually did make the world.
And
a
if you
better
want to
place.
make the world a better place,
Yeah.
cooperate with Jesus.
Yep.
That's the way to do it.
receive him
Indeed.
every day.
All right, how not to be rude in 2026. This is the article. All right, and I made it into a quiz for you guys, and I'll only give you a few of them, but I thought I'd give you a few because some of this stuff I didn't actually know how to do it. Like they have one of their things about how not to be rude is the proper way to include someone in a WhatsApp chat, and I was like, I wouldn't even know where to find a WhatsApp chat. So some of it, I only kept the ones that I knew. What they were. But here's one. For example, what does the article, How Not to Be Rude in 2026, published in the Guardian newspaper say that guests should avoid doing at the modern wedding? So remember, these are rude things that have become common in the modern world. They're trying to tell you to stop these things. What is the rude thing guests are doing at modern weddings?
Congratulating the couple?
No, really? That's rude?
I'm just, well,
You're trying to think of what the Guardian would say? Go ahead.
Yes, because there is a weird debate about whether you congratulate the bride or not, or just congratulate the groom.
Well, that's
Because
old-fashioned.
the idea is that it's somehow insulting to congratulate the bride because obviously she's marrying down.
Yeah, you congratulate the groom because he won. He won her heart.
Exactly, yeah.
That was the old. That actually was the etiquette. Like back in the.
So it was a perfectly reasonable guess, is what you're telling me.
Something I loathe at weddings, but this is at the reception. It's not at the wedding. It is when best men, especially, make off-color toasts.
Oh, that is off-putting. I don't like any of that stuff at a wedding. Like,
yeah,
this is a dignified thing.
Yeah.
Treat it with dignity.
Indeed.
No, people are using the wedding to make their own social media content.
What?
They're like
Okay, that's
posting.
bad.
Okay, I
I'm at the
would
wedding.
not have guessed that.
Really?
I was at a wedding recently, and I did not do this.
I think that's incredibly rude. Like this is
Oh,
someone
yeah.
else's wedding. That
The notorious example of this is people who propose at weddings. Like you'll have a wedding reception.
Oh my God! Or you know what? Have a baby at the wedding. Do all this stuff that makes the bride less the center of her own day.
Exactly.
Like how can we make the bride
It
less
used to
the
be
center
if
of
you
this?
were a woman and you wore white to a wedding, that was rude.
Yeah. Is that still rude?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, a new thing that people are doing in public places. This could be anything now. I see my own question is kind of, but it's a technological thing people do in public places. Don't do this.
Talk out loud on the phone.
Speech to text.
You're both in the ballpark watching TikTok videos with the sound up.
People do that on airplanes. I've seen this on
I
airplanes.
have.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a video I thought about sharing on that I realized I had no reason to do this. I got a video of my flight recently. I was going from Pittsburgh to Nashville, and it was already like an hour late. So it was already a frustrating flight. And before we got on, a guy was told he could not go on the flight because he was overserved. And
that's going to go
he
well.
had a really uncomfortable conversation.
Is this
with,
Pittsburgh or not?
Yeah. Oh, man. He had a very uncomfortable conversation with what I assume was his girlfriend, who was apparently not surprised. And this is all on speakerphone. And he was blaming everyone else. And she, I think, saw right through this. And meanwhile, while all of this is happening, another woman is listening to rap with no headphones on. Just playing music at volume.
Insane.
And I was just like, how is all of this happening at once? Well, we get on the plane and they ask her to put in headphones or turn it off. And she turns it off. And as soon as they walk away, she turns it back on. And then she does this several times. And we push the button and we're like, she keeps doing this. And so 4 people told her to stop. And then they told her she had to get off the plane. And then she refused to get off the plane. And then they said we were all have to get off the plane if she didn't. And she was like, fine, they all have to. And then finally they're like, we're calling the police on you. And it was only then that she eventually, it was bananas. And
But
so,
that's
watching TikTok.
That's
in public
obviously a
spaces.
person who is way outside the norm. But there's people who will get on the plane while talking on the phone and just sit there in the seat while you're on the tarmac, or they're watching a video really loud,
At full volume.
Like it's unbelievably bad phone behavior. I believe there should be some kind of. Well, we'll talk about it more when we get back.
The one I don't like is taking off the shoes.
Oh, good Lord!
Keep your shoes
We're all
on the
together.
airplane, please.
Yeah, but do eat that sandwich that's only onions. Don't forget to do that. Right back with more How Not to Be Rude in 2026 on the Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live. We hope that one of the things that we communicate here at Catholic Answers Live is that our Catholic faith allows us to be fully serious about all the problems we encounter in the church and in the world, but it also lets us have light hearts and maybe even mix in a bit of fun, and that is exactly what our good friend Joe Heschmeyer does in his popular podcast, Shameless Popery. You should check it out at shamelessjoe.com. Joe's got a deep grasp of the faith, morals, the teachings of the church, all that, but he's also got a witty conversational style. He entertains and he informs, but you will leave equipped to better answer the most common challenges, misconceptions, and questions about the Catholic faith. He's got insightful guests, he does on-air debates, and he takes a close look into all the things that you want to know about as a Catholic living today. You'll walk away knowledgeable and filled with joy. Look for Joe on his YouTube channel. Check him out at shamelessjoe.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, become a patron.
Throughout history, some Catholics have been among the worst kind of villains, right? Or were they? In Cancelled, historian Steve Weidenkopf digs into the lives and controversies of some of these Catholics whose reputations have been blackened, often unfairly. He takes on the anti-Catholic versions of history and defends not only these figures, but the faith they represent. Order your copy of Cancelled today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
When the resurrected Jesus appeared to disciples on the road to Emmaus, they didn't recognize him until the breaking of the bread. The same is true today. In the Holy Eucharist, we really meet Jesus. In The Eucharist is Really Jesus, author Joe Heschmeyer explains how knowing Jesus in the Eucharist is the key to understanding all of Christian faith. Order your copy of The Eucharist is Really Jesus today at shop.catholic.com or get it at a good Catholic bookstore. Welcome back, Catholic Answers Live. It's Flannel Panel today. Joe Heschmeyer, our guest. Chris Check, our guest. I am Cy Kelly, your host. Flannel Panel, we put on flannel shirts, talk about the news of the world from a Catholic perspective. How not to be rude in 2026. I'm just going to give you two more of those, and then we'll go on to another news story. What does the article say people should remove before interacting with a cashier in the grocery store?
Headphones.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Headphones. People apparently... This has become quite common and is wildly rude. If you do this, knock it off. You're dealing with a human being, not a robot. You have your headphones in and you're talking to someone else. Nothing could say you don't matter to me at all more clearly than that.
I think the underlying thing here is that these can be very engrossing. I mean, we were talking about this over the break, but I think people are not even often consciously aware of how rude their behavior is. Like, I will go further because I know some people listening to this show right now need to hear it.
They're
If
walking
you
around
leave
the
your
grocery
phone
store right
on-
now.
Yeah.
Not on vibrate, but on ring. In most public settings, that is viewed as rude by almost everyone under 40.
Yeah.
When you're getting beeps and buzzes and rings, the number of times I hear this during Mass, I was just at daily Mass a few days ago, and our Lord was testing me. There was a woman there who was just getting and sending text messages, and she was 5 rows behind me. And every time she got one,
in
I
church?
could hear it. I mean,
Come
it was
on,
before
lady.
Mass,
That's the
but yeah,
double
it was
ding.
in church. And it was just like, what
Go
are we doing
outside.
here?
Here's actually something. I actually have been to Mass for most of my life, without a cell phone.
That's a long mass.
Without, very good. For most of my life, I have been going to mass without a cell phone.
Yeah,
And
that probably is the best thing to do.
And now I just can you not be an hour without your phone? Just leave your phone on the desk at home.
But I have to say, I have a reason. I can't, Chris, because it won't count my steps if I leave it at home, and I got to know how many steps I got in today.
Wait, okay, so
you get like at least 50 during communion.
Like that's half my steps for the day is just getting up to communion. So definitely, I need those counted.
I think Joe's point about that he made there about. I mean, I forget the point you made, but it was a good. It was a good
just that it's engrossing.
Yeah,
People become
engrossing.
so engrossed in their own experience with their phone that they just don't step outside of that.
So
to say,
I think this sort of overlaps what Joe is saying, but all of these devices and the platforms and the various media have had the effect not of uniting us but isolating us. And so it's actually because of the phone itself, it's not unrealistic or unreasonable at this point for the person carrying it around to think I'm actually the only person. I'm the only person here because I've become so atomized.
The real world is not real anymore.
It is.
So the people in it don't matter.
Yeah.
What matters is what's in the phone.
You said it better than I did. Yeah.
Well, I was putting it together from what you were saying.
Yeah.
All right. I'll just do one more. I want you two to struggle with this, but I don't think you're going to struggle at all. All right. How not to be rude in 2026 is the article from The Guardian. What does the article claim people are increasingly assuming it is acceptable to bring with them when they are invited into social situations, including other people's homes?
Pot.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
I have no idea.
Wait, they're bringing something with them.
That they're assuming it's acceptable
Children.
to bring.
It can't be children.
It is acceptable to bring children.
Yeah, of course
well, unless there's somebody. I mean,
Like
you could
children
be
are-
invited to something.
Yeah, you
that's,
get a -1. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, you're
I'm
going to
blanking a
know.
little
Oh,
bit.
I'm glad you struggled with this a little bit because I want you both to go, oh, I should have seen that coming.
The phone. I don't know.
People, even when they're invited to someone's house, bring their dog.
Oh,
They
gosh.
don't leave the dog at home. They assume the dog is welcome everywhere. You get invited to a barbecue, bring the dog. You get invited wherever you go, the dog is, you don't ask, you just assume dogs are welcome.
Don't do this, my friend.
I asked my wife if she wanted to visit some friends recently, and she said, last time we were there, their dog continually jumped on me, and they didn't do anything about it. And so we were like,
bad.
I guess we'll give it a pass. So, yeah, I know there's a dog lover on the panel itself. Just
yeah,
know.
but we would never do this.
No, that's right.
No,
like
it's true.
It's
we would never do this.
yeah. I don't think most
Dogs
people
aren't
that have
dogs aren't people. I would like to go on record
and dogs
saying,
are not the problem. The people who think the dog is welcome everywhere are the problem. Why would you assume that? But they do. I think dogs have become actual fur babies.
So
to
this
people.
is the word that we use, that we get from time to time. People will send us an inquiry about a puppy, and they'll say, "Oh, we need to add a fur baby." And we know people who push dogs around in strollers. That's not good for the dog, by the way. The dog should walk. It's good for dogs to walk.
It's not good for the rest of us either when we look in and we're expecting to see a baby and we see a dog and we immediately have a gag reflex.
Baby looks just like
oh
you.
my gosh, look at that baby. Holy smokes, look at that baby. Yeah, don't do that to us.
People bring their people. You know, it's funny because at the Vons here, which is the grocery chain, people bring their dogs in there, and if they're toy dogs, they'll put them in the basket, which is where I'm going to be putting my vegetables, not knowing that their dog was in the basket, and that's really gross. But now I see people walking full-size dogs around in, Labradors and shepherds.
Yeah.
and-
Which are lovely, beautiful dogs. I'm
You
so glad
can't
you have
walk
the dog.
your big
What are you
dog.
doing in a grocery store, a place where they sell food with your dog? Stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trader Joe's has a sign out in front that says, "Your pet is not welcome in here."
Does it say that?
Yeah, I mean,
Good for
I think
Trader
they have a
Joe's.
slightly nicer word. Service animals.
Yeah, but if
and-
you've
and-
got cookie butter on the inside, people will leave the dog outside to get in there.
Yeah.
All right.
The world is nuts.
And the world is nuts. On we go. Catholic Answers recently on its blog Indulgences, which is the best name for a Catholic blog ever created.
I don't get it.
You don't get it? I think you came up with it. Well, maybe
Todd,
not.
Todd.
did. Todd is quite a clever
He
fellow.
is. Todd's very clever.
He's a partial indulgences. That's when you don't get your story done. If you don't get all
Yeah, exactly.
Joe, is your article ready? Oh, half done. Oh, partial indulgence. Catholic
Exactly.
Answers
Nicely done. Yeah, I like
recently
that.
came out full-throated attack on the use of
Okay, it was not an attack.
on the use of piano in liturgy. Catholic Answers has
It
come
also
out.
wasn't institutional. There was an article.
No, we're all
And it was
responsible.
an opinion piece. It was labeled opinion.
Yeah.
And it was not bellicose or
No, well, okay,
vitriolic.
That is true. All right, so
It was correct.
okay. Then now here's what I'm looking for: is the piano an offensive instrument to the liturgy?
Offensive's the wrong word. It doesn't belong in the sanctuary.
Oh, what are we saying, in the liturgy or in the sanctuary?
Why would you have it in the sanctuary if you're not going to use it in the liturgy?
Or because of the organs of the pipe.
Well,
are
no,
up-
because there's plenty that have it in the back.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like we have
The
a choir loft that has a spot for the choir and an organ and a piano. The piano is basically used. It was used actually a couple weeks ago as a backup when the power suddenly went out during mass, and so they were able to, because the organ uses electricity, they were able to use the piano instead.
Which, by the way, the article said is an occasion when you might turn to a piano, or if you were in a rural parish and this is all that you had available to you. But by sanctuary, I mean the fullness of the space.
Okay,
It
I mean,
do-
it
It doesn't
there's a
belong.
2007
It's not a liturgical instrument. That's a good way to say it.
There's a 2007 USCCB document that specifically says you shouldn't put it in a visibly conspicuous place. If you
piano.
have a piano in your church. Well, it actually says placement of the organ, console, and pipes, speakers of amplified instruments, and acoustic instruments such as a piano is determined both by visual consideration, so there is no distraction from liturgical action, and by acoustical consideration, so the sound can support the congregation, and so the instrumentalist is readily able to accompany cantors, psalmists, and choirs. So you are allowed to have a piano in church. It is permitted. So it is a liturgical instrument in as much as it is a liturgically licit instrument explicitly, but it should be in an inconspicuous place. And I would agree that it is not the most fitting instrument. Although,
And why is
frankly,
There
I think
actually is
piano
a sp- there's
superior to like guitar.
it is superior to guitar. Maybe, I don't know. Like a little quiet nylon string guitar. I don't mean one of these folk guitars with the steel strings, which are very inappropriate. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All my what are they called?
Okay, but
Charismatic friends.
Why? I don't think either of you have made the case.
I'm going to tell you why.
Okay, so why
It's a
is
percussion instrument. The piano is a percussion instrument, and that's why it's.
And what about percussion is anti-liturgical? Is against liturgy? What makes it?
It does not accompany the human choral voice as harmoniously, as coherently as the organ does.
The organ is more like the human voice.
It is.
So the human voice is the
the central feature of the liturgy, of liturgical music.
I got you. Are you? Does this make sense to you, Joe?
Piano is actually not a percussion instrument.
Sure,
although
it is.
adjacent to-
Yes, it is.
I just
it is
looked.
percussive. I mean, like
It has percussive dimensions.
It has
to
a
it, but it is
hammer.
not-
Actually, it has something called a hammer. That's what it's actually. It has. Actually, wait a minute. Let me go back. It has 88 hammers, not just one.
I understand that.
Right.
But
I would say that's a
doesn't
percussion instrument on crack. 88 hammers.
All right. So Joe, but your point was what?
it also is. So things like the hammered dulcimer, they also question whether because it has some percussive qualities, but it is stringed. So anyway, all of that is to say there is a very technical debate we can get into there. It's different in kind from something like drums or something like this. So I understand the argument, but I think piano is more like organ than it is like drums, right? I mean, would that be fair to say?
I don't know how to answer that.
You can play the notes of an octave on a piano.
Right, in a way that you can't on like a
On a
gong
snare
or
drum.
cymbals or something like that.
Yeah. Well, okay.
So-
there is something else, though, because Joe did mention that there's a 2007 document of which I was ignorant, but I would like to share it with some folks I know who have a piano front and center in their sanctuaries. And by this I mean sanctuaries, or right outside where the altar rail used to be, or should be. But Pius X actually published a document on this question.
Yes, in 1903.
Yeah. So in our lifetimes. And he calls the piano a profane instrument.
Sure.
Yeah, he says the employment of the piano is forbidden in church, as is also that of noisy or frivolous instruments such as drums, cymbals, bells, and the like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he is, by the way,
has been relaxed.
He is a saint.
Yes,
He's
I
a saint.
understand he's a saint.
Pope St. Pius X.
Right, but this certainly wasn't the central point of his pontificate, and so you could say, well, this might be a lasting and durable point, or this might be something that it's certainly not something the church has focused on over the last 120 years.
I would say she's largely ignored it.
Right, so it's hard to say what the force of that is. I mean, that to me that would be. Here's the thing. This is what I want to get to. I think to most Catholics, when they read an article about how the piano does not belong in church, it is utterly outside of their understanding. It's like, so I see that and I go, all right, that's controversial, not because it's wrong, but because it's utterly foreign
to people
to think about. Yes,
I think I want to answer this exact question that I anticipate you're asking. There is a reason for this, why we got the reaction that we did. Or why people might have...
What reaction did we get?
Well, I actually don't know. There were a handful of people who were... I don't look at the social, so I don't know how that went. You'd have to ask Thomas. But there were a handful of people, some of whom played piano in church.
In church, yeah, right.
who were nonplussed or even irritated.
Right.
But
nonplussed is a word that means nothing because it means two opposite things.
It mees confused.
Are you going to say
nonplussed means confused?
Are you going to say inflammable means nothing because it means two different things?
Are you going to say
I
am going to
dust
say that.
means nothing
if
because
a
it
word
means two
opposite things, and you have to figure out from
from
person,
context? But
it means either perplexed or unperplexed.
Yes. Okay. So, but Chris's point, I think, is fairly taken. That people were annoyed at this.
I'm going to tell you why.
Why? Yes. Go ahead.
Because they do not have, and have not for now going on a couple of generations, the regular experience with the fullness of the church's musical liturgical tradition, which is choral.
This, I think, is exactly right. I think you are exactly right on that. But
Can we? Is there a way to note this?
That I said that you were exactly
in the show notes
yeah,
or something?
I totally agreed with Chris. It's just to me that this is going to come out of left field for people, where I think we have to.
For whom what I call the Frozen Mass or the My Little Pony Mass or some of the more recent settings, which sound more like a kind of a Disney Broadway production. Than in keeping with, well, let's just say Gregorian chant.
Right. Okay. So let's say, what would be the strategy for returning us to the...
I'm going to answer this one too.
Okay.
I'm going to answer this one too. Support a local San Diego organization called Canticle, which is operated by our dear friend Marianne Carr Wilson. Look them up. And this magnificent woman is training young people how to chant.
Okay.
There's another thing.
And by the way, and she's going all over the country and doing it, and she's not the only one. But let's start.
Archbishop Corleone has that institute, the Benedict XVI.
Precisely.
Good.
Let's give them a shout out as well. Yep. Let's learn how to chant. Send your kids to chant camp.
Edgar did a poll on YouTube. It came out this way: Should the piano be played during the liturgy? Yes, there are worse instruments. Now, wait a second.
That's
a
an
pretty
argument.
low standard.
Yes, no saxophones.
35%.
Let's get the saxophone out of the...
Yes, it's beautiful and fitting. 26%. So 61% say, yes, let's have the piano. Don't really care, 22%. Absolutely not. Not appropriate.
83% either
17%
for or apathetic.
So we took the 20 on the 80-20 split. on this one.
Well, I did. I guess.
Less than 20.
Yeah. Well, I think when people begin to experience and appreciate again the church's long-standing and magnificent polyphonic choral tradition, their lives are going to be transformed.
I could not agree more.
This is actually where I think a better argument could be made, because I think when the focus is on banning the piano, this doesn't work because most people's liturgical experience, maybe not most, but many people's liturgical experience, the piano is the least offensive instrument that they're going to encounter liturgically. And so it feels like being quite precious, in the face of like, there's a guitar over here, and like, but there's also a piano. And it's like, okay, but when you put forward the positive vision, when you have something like, let's have a children's solo, when you restore polyphonic music, when you do all, like, people actually putting forward the positive liturgical vision, I think that's going to get much more traction than just saying what not to do. I think we need to do a better job of pointing in a better direction liturgically.
Yeah, I agree. Find a parish in your diocese, my friends, that has a good scola, and attend a mass in which they are singing the praises of God, and your heart is going to grow 3 times that day.
I tell you who
call a doctor if that happens.
No, it happened to the Grinch. It really was very.
I don't know.
Very,
Well,
it was good for his health.
And actually, it was the
very
Who's,
helpful.
and the Who's were singing.
Yeah,
that's what. That's why.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. Right back with more Flannel Panel news of the world from a Catholic perspective on Catholic Answers Live.
Hang on, we'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live.
The Catechism defines evangelization as the proclamation of Christ and His gospel by word and the testimony of life. But what does that look like in real life? It looks like St. Paul street evangelists out in the public square sharing the good news. We're a Catholic nonprofit that starts conversations by handing out free sacramentals. Then we employ our method of listen, befriend, proclaim, and invite. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization. Visit streetevangelization.com to learn more. Alexian Brothers is a proud sponsor of Catholic Answers Live. For 800 years, these Catholic brothers have offered a prophetic and daring response to the gospel, serving Christ in the sick, the poor, and the dying. Is God calling you to be a courageous disciple? If you feel called to total self-giving as a religious brother in the mission of Jesus, call our vocations office at 847-264-8703. That's 847-264-8703. AlexianBrothers.org.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
I pray that EWTN News in Depth will help the everyday life of everyday Catholics by bringing them the news that matters to them and helping them to have the information at their fingertips for whatever it is that they need to be able to engage with the world confidently with their faith.
EWTN News in Depth with Montse Alvarado. Friday night, 8 Eastern on EWTN Television and Radio.
Sometimes I have a news story I want to share with Chris and Joe because I just want to hear their reaction to the first paragraph. I just want to hear what because I sometimes can guess. Quite often I cannot guess what their reaction will be. But this is a Reuters story. Reuters, right? Well, I won't categorize Reuters, but June 19th, Norway imposes a near ban on AI in elementary school. Oslo, June 19th, Norway is imposing a near ban on the use of generative AI tools by elementary school pupils, while also restricting their use in the education of older children to prevent a negative impact on learning, the country's prime minister said on Friday. Facing a broad decline in education test scores, the government in 2024 banned smartphones from schools and has given teachers back more powers to enforce discipline in the classroom. I wonder how you respond to this.
How much are tickets to go to Norway?
To get to Norway?
I'm going to tell you what's.
If we're moving the Catholic Answers office, you go a little further east.
This is a direct effect already of the intercession of Sigrid Undset.
Oh, I hope so. I hope you're right about that.
Can you give some context for people who are not?
Sigrid Undset.
She was a church piano player from the 19th century.
Sigrid Undset is the greatest lady novelist of all time. And she got
and maybe a saint.
And her cause was recently opened by the Bishop of Oslo.
This is what I thought. Now, see, neither of you said what I thought you were going to say, is who was the idiot who thought AI tools for elementary pupils was ever a good idea? Why did we have to ban this? Why are there no adults to go, stop it? You cannot use generative AI in an elementary school.
My friend Dan Kerr and I were talking about this the other day, and we said about it at the same time that we pity that I'm so glad I did not grow up with AI.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how malformed you would be?
I hardly grew up with I.
I think your I is A.
Okay.
In his Encyclical, which I finally read.
You did. You read it. Magnificat.
42 and some change thousand.
Bless you.
Words, but one of the points that he makes in there around paragraph 90 or so, we should be very careful about this use of the word intelligence, because that's not what it means.
Yes, right. It's not.
It's not intelligence. He says it mimics human intelligence. It can compute faster than human intelligence, but it's not intelligence.
Right. Right. I even a lot of people in the AI field will say, don't just say LLM.
Large language model.
Large language model. They'll be like, this is not AI. This is not. There's nothing AI about it.
I mean, the problem is that the word artificial can mean either fake or man-made.
Right.
So
I mean, that's the
Latin.
Facere to make.
Artifice.
Yeah.
Right.
So made by a human person or an artisan.
I want to tell you the radical change that they're making in Norway to replace AI for 6-year-olds. I can't believe that they're just now thinking, oh, that's a bad idea. AI for 6-year-olds. This is the radical. They're going to teach them. This is what they're going to teach 6-year-olds in Norway.
Okay.
Clearly they have got some deep thinkers there in Norway. They're going to focus on 3 things. They want them to be able to read, write, and do mathematics.
And raid. Oh, sorry. The old Viking R's. Reading, writing, and rating.
Those are the Viking R's, the 3 R's of Vikingism. Although, except for reading and writing.
Yeah, good point.
It was, there was another R in there we can't say on the air, but I think, they were Vikings. Read, write, and do. This seems so basic to me. I'm sorry, but how did we talk ourselves into the idea that technology was important in the education of children? It is clearly not. They teach them.
I was talking about this at the park this morning. I took the kids to the park. We ran into a mom with a 6, 4, and 2-year-old. We have a 6, 4, and 2-year-old. So our kids were hitting it off, and turned out we were both parents of Montessori kids. And the other mom was saying she was considering sending her kids to Catholic school after this. And one of the concerns she had is that they allowed technology in the classroom. And so it was a step down to go from a non-Catholic Montessori into a Catholic school, because it was going to be a bunch of devices in the classroom, which she hadn't been used to before. And so she spoke to the principal about it. And they talked about Anxious Generation, the Jonathan Haidt book.
Yep.
It was a New York Times bestseller and is all about the dangers of technology on kids. And the principal's like, yeah, I've read it. But the problem is, and I know this because I was privy to some of this stuff, it was pretty within the last decade, say 5, 6, 7 years ago, schools were raising money on getting technology in the classroom.
Yes, right. I was going to say this exactly.
That was a terrible idea. We need to get rid of all of it.
It's a very easy thing to get a gift for, the computer lab.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah. Can I tell you?
Books. I think we give the children books. We have 2 wonderful donors. One who pays for the domestic, we give away books for free, and one who pays for the international. I don't know how many books we give away on this show every year, but I'm proud of and gratified too for the people
France
who gave the money.
just shut down social media for anybody under 15. That was announced yesterday.
And they're working on smoking. All right, we are going to take a very, very quick break. News of the world from a Catholic perspective. Don't let your kids learn from the AI. Give them a book. Right back with more right after this. Welcome back, Catholic Answers Live. It's Flannel Panel. It's always fun when the Flannel Panel's here. Joe Heschmeyer in his beautiful summer flannel. We call that a summer flannel because it's not flannel. Because it's summer and he's hot and he doesn't want to wear a flannel. And Chris, man, I don't even know where Chris gets these beautiful flannels.
Ann
Who's your flannel?
Zadra.
That's an Ann Zadra one?
Great Ann Zadra. By the way, she sends them to you too as well.
Oh, I have them. I just forgot
I'm just
to bring
the
it
only
today.
one who wears them.
No, I wore.
I'm the only one who's grateful, Ann. Thank you, Ann. Ann Zadra.
Making an obvious play.
Just send one next time.
You have tremendous. By the way, I
like blues.
I said in the first hour I had something I wanted to share with you two that I thought was important, and then I never shared it. I found out something about flannel I wonder
that it's
if,
different than plaid.
No, there's a little irony in this. I think in the quality of the show we do, which is clearly one of the highest quality programs produced anywhere. Of
all time.
And what the word flannel means in British slang. Did either of you know that British?
It's a face cloth.
No. In flannel or in the UK. Now, UK people call in, write in, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what the computer told me. The word flannel describes the act. Like if you do a flannel, you're using a lot of words to avoid telling the truth, evade answering a question, or flatter someone in an attempt to mislead or to stall.
This is amazing.
And
we unintentionally have the perfect name for this.
We accidentally called ourselves after this. That's what we. So
the Merriam-Webster's dictionary. I just pulled it up. The fourth definition: British, flattering or evasive talk. Also, nonsense, rubbish. The rubbish panel.
Rubbish.
It's
the rubbish panel.
2 hours.
So I think this is why our listenership has gone down in the British Isles. I don't know if you know that, but we've lost listeners in the British Isles. We used to have 4. We only have 3 now.
I also actively insult the British regularly. So.
Why would you insult the British, Joe? Who can?
It's such a crowd pleaser. Like 90% of the world has an Independence Day from England. This is
90% of the world. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Just they gave you your entire way of life, but whatever, Joe. You you do you, as they say. Yeah.
That is true for good or ill. By the way, we basically
the British shaped the world.
We are totally an extension of the British Empire. America is just a continuation of the British Empire.
Yeah. That's why we get along so well with Australians, because they are too, and New Zealanders because they are
Neil
too.
Ferguson's thesis.
Is it Neil?
Does he have just one? I think he gets a new thesis every week. He's a very smart man, Neil Ferguson.
Fair. It's Niall. Is that pronounced Neil? I don't know.
Niall.
Probably. I think he's British. Niall. It's probably Niall.
But yeah, Empire: The Rise and Demise of the British World Order, and Lessons for something.
I didn't know that, but I'm happy to have my thought aligned with his. He's a innovative thinker.
Okay, now I forgot where I was going. So, all right, I'm just going to do a story. All right, can we do it? You guys mind if I do a story
Please.
Right now? All right, well, we'll go to the Times of India. And how often do you two read the Times of India? I bet I read it more than you do.
I bet that's probably true.
Really?
I've read the Times of India before. I often
before
find them
what?
come up on Google News. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
At this moment,
India does have a very well-developed English language media. Of course, this is a huge
because they used to be part of the British Empire.
Well, also it's a huge place, so
yes.
they have. There's a lot. So if you do expose yourself to a lot of media,
Rudyard Kipling used to write for the.
Did he write for the
press in India? That's where he came of age, or that's where he professionally.
Yeah. I know that he was part of the. What did they call it? Was that the Raj?
The Raj.
What's the Raj? What does that?
Indian people. It's India under the empire.
I thought that might be it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's a Hindu word for kingdom.
All right. I have. There's a little irony, a little bit of irony in the following story.
I want to say one more thing.
Please go ahead. That's what this whole show is designed to let you say things
about the reach. To this day
of the British
Empire.
That's tremendous.
Jackie and I take our dogs sometimes on Saturday morning for what's called drop-in. It's to practice showing them up to this park up here in Rancho Penasquitos, up near where Fideli lives.
Yeah. I don't know where Fideli lives. Fideli's never invited me to her house.
In Rancho Penasquitos.
Okay.
Oh, you know where Father Soroki's...
This is the most obscure part of the show.
And how many of you know where Fidelity lives?
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
It's
all
over
right.
by there.
Okay.
It's the park up by Fidelity's house.
Where Father
Soroki's, all you listeners.
Father Soroki's parish used to be. He's moved now.
Okay, it's near Father Soroki's parish.
No,
for those of
his
you
former parish.
who didn't know where Fidelity lived.
Our Lady of Mount Carmel.
All right, go ahead. This is about by the way, we're still on the British Empire. So, okay, on we go.
There are people there.
The sun never sets on this story.
There are people there, Indians, playing, guess.
Cricket.
Cricket.
Oh, that's awesome. In East County, San Diego.
Yes.
Yes.
On a Saturday morning.
I love it. Yes. I don't know. I don't understand
cricket.
I
watch and I'm like, I've got this figured out. But I don't. I do not have it figured out.
No, it's the craziest game.
I went to a baseball game with an Indian priest and thought I could explain the rules of baseball to him while we were there, and tried to be like, well, it's kind of like in cricket, and then realized I didn't understand cricket.
Yeah, right.
And that cricket and
there's
baseball
a
were
ball
not
and a
as
bat.
similar as I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It turns out they're both complicated games.
Story from the Times of India. Ambika Pandit is the author. July 19th, the date. Even as fertility rates drop, young still aspire to partnership. Parenthood, shows UN report. Already you might see the outlines of some irony in this story. New Delhi, a first-of-its-kind survey of young adults aged 18 through 39. By the way, if you're 39, don't go to the young adult meeting.
Oh, amen. Amen.
Stop going to the young adult. Just go to the adult meeting, okay? A first-of-its-kind survey of young adults aged 18 through 39 across 73 countries, including India, by the United Nations Population Fund, shows that even as much of the world's marriage rates have declined and fertility has fallen to historically low levels, young people are not turning away from relationships or family life. Marriage, it says, remains a common, ideal relationship arrangement among surveyed young adults. The report highlights that across countries with very different demographic realities, many continue to aspire to partnership and parenthood. I don't know why they say come on, India. You're talking about marriage. Stop saying partnership. But say their decisions are increasingly shaped by financial security, stable employment, housing, gender equality, and confidence in the future. Gentlemen, your comments.
So two things.
It is very ironic that it is the United Nations Population
That's what blew me away. The United Nations Population Fund, 1969, founded to end the human race, is now worried that we're not having enough children. Yes. The whole purpose of this thing is to have fewer human beings. One of the most evil undertakings ever undertaken in the name of doing good, the United Nations Population
Their
Fund.
single objective.
I've got some AI-generated articles about water use.
Did you get that joke? It's because AI uses a lot of water.
Yeah.
He's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just didn't know. You're very old.
Their single purpose to sterilize the third world.
Oh, and they did it
developing
brutally,
world.
too.
Yep.
Brutally.
Yep. Yep.
So brutalized generations of
here's
women.
Here's your transistor radio, and we're giving you an IUD.
Yeah. Or worse.
Yep.
I mean, in many cases, permanent sterilization. Yep. Certainly India had a horrible...
Oh, yeah, India was often. I mean, if you read, I think it's the opening chapter to Population Bomb by Paul Ehrlich, it just is about how gross he found India. I mean, I'm not even exact. He's just like, I was in India. There were a bunch of people. It was shoulder to shoulder. It was smelly and disgusting. And the whole thing is
let's get rid of these people
towards
yes,
Indians.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Just like basically like I went on vacation and wished half the people in the country I visited were dead.
Yeah.
Just like,
population control is the most racist undertaking.
Of course it is.
It's and they a lot of times it's the veneer of it not being racist is very, very thin. I mean, it's clear we just have too many brown people.
Fewer of you, just the right number of me.
Yeah, right.
Well, Margaret Sanger famously said, "More births from the fit, fewer from the unfit."
Yeah, and who's unfit?
Yes, exactly.
Who's unfit? It's you, India. So why did you fall for this nonsense, India? Well, because India was
huge financial incentives also
wildly poor. Right. So I don't want to make light of the suffering.
No, I mean
of
they were
India.
the victims of the exploitation of wealthy countries that hated them.
Right. So I found that ironic, and I'm glad the two of you noticed the irony as well, that this comes from the United Nations Population Fund, which is essentially the cause of all of this.
And by the way, heavily
along
funded
with CBS News.
heavily funded by the United States.
Yeah, but it's voluntarily funded. So I think it's sometimes funded by the United States. It depends on the. It's not part of the dues. So it's like some administrations fund it, some don't. Which again, elections matter. We come back to that thought from time to time. But what do you think about the underlying thing, which I find personally heartbreaking? What young people are saying is, despite all the propaganda, despite all the abuse, despite all the movements to quash the desires of their hearts and to tell them not to desire what they do in fact desire, they want to be married to another person and they want to make babies with that person.
So I think there's a temptation that people who are married, such as the three of us, and have a certain amount of stability, but quite frankly, I mean, in a month or two it could all go away, but have a certain amount of stability, to be impatient with people who are in their late 20s, early 30s, and are not married.
Yeah.
And I think that the financial challenges, particularly with respect to things like housing,
right,
and I don't just mean home ownership, but just plain old rent,
right,
are they're the worst they've ever been in my lifetime. So, and maybe even in the history of the United States, that I can't speak to. But they are very, very challenging. And so the two things that jump out at me, I don't know what gender equality means in this context, I apologize. But the two things that jump out for me in these reasons are housing and concern about the future. And I get why people right now, with a great amount of cultural and social and political divisiveness in this country, a constant state of perpetual war that we're in right now, and an incredibly expensive housing market, are not at the place where you would be. Okay, well, I know. Let's start a family. Let's get married and start a family.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we need to encourage some patience, and then I think we need to work at the local level as best we can, and within families to answer that housing question, and insofar that stability question.
What about this? Because I've extremely well said, Chris, and I think right on the money.
Mark that down.
That's two today. But what about this cycle that we see of young women, starting off with Disney and going to 17 magazine, Cosmopolitan, and being talked out of the desire for motherhood, and then we follow this arc where at about 45 or 50, regret sets in, and I almost feel like we need to break the pattern, but we're not breaking the pattern. I think young girls are being talked out of motherhood, and then when it's too late, realizing, oh, I meant to be a mother. I wanted to be a mother. I never admitted it to myself.
The victim,
or there's this idea they'll just wait, because there is this idea. I mean, I think you see this in the data. A lot of young people want to be married with kids, but a lot of young women in particular believe that they have to wait till after they go to college, after they get financially secure,
right,
and then they have kids. But the problem is two things happen. One, it can become biologically difficult or impossible to have kids. But two, you also just wear out. Like the way God designed it is, you have kids when you're still kind of dumb and figuring stuff out, but you have energy. Whereas if, like my wife and I got married and we're both in our mid-30s, we are smarter than we were in our mid-20s for sure. I mean,
she still made a pretty serious
parents got married
mistake,
in late 20s, and fair enough. But she was way worse before, I bet. And like her grandma got married at 17. She got married in her mid-30s.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a generational shift right there. Her grandma was able to have 17 kids, no sweat. And
I'm going to say she sweat a little bit.
Sweat.
Yeah,
I don't know if
fair
sweat
enough. What I mean is,
right? Yeah, that was easy.
The part was not getting pregnant.
I think Sai's drilling down on the question here, particularly of the attitudes of women I think women, and I've said this before, I think women, if we had to identify one demographic group who are the chief victims of modern communication technology, it's teenage girls and the lies that they are being told, and they come in a lot of forms. It was not that long ago that this instinct, which you might even call maternal, was relatively strong among women. But Joe, you can probably speak to this. I think the most recent data shows that, especially, even among Catholics or traditional Catholics or something like this, it's actually young men who very much want to be husbands, and they're finding increasingly that women are not interested in this. Isn't that what you're hearing, Joe?
Yes. The stats from Pew Research say among young adults without children, men are more likely than women to say they want to be parents someday. So when you're looking at just the single population, those who don't have kids but want to, 57% of men and 45% of women.
Okay, so this is actually terrifying because
yes.
I'm just going to accept that it's true, and I know with data that's what was the question that was asked, et cetera, et cetera. But let's just take it as it's reported here.
Mm-hmm.
A woman becoming a mother is a built-in transforming experience that takes her from childhood or teenagehood to or adolescence into adulthood. It's baked into the design. This is why men need
rituals.
Yeah, they need coming of age experiences like.
Women don't need that because there's a very clear marker.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so when this is so manifestly obvious in the design, and women are turning away from it, that is a frightening social, psychological, demographic reality.
Yeah.
It's a rejection of humanity. It's a rejection of your humanity.
There is a turning against biology. Yeah. I mean, there just is.
Well, not just biology, but femininity.
Right. But I mean, at a very basic level, the survival of the human species, we have designed a society that works at cross purposes with the deepest kind of biological, natural, teleological sort of orientation we have. And that is alarming.
Yeah.
So in the study, I get to do the sci thing now where I get to read from a study. When it says young adults, it means 18 to 34.
Sorry for being intelligent. Go ahead, Joe.
So 69% of those who've never been married say they want to get married one day. Now you'll notice 69% is much higher than the number who say they want kids someday.
Right.
So a lot of people, even when they're aspiring towards marriage, are aspiring towards a dink marriage, dual income, no kids, where it ends up still being not actually the marital ideal because it ends up being very selfish. And that's not to knock people who can't have kids, but people who have noticed, I want to get married and then just have fun with another adult while we're both making money and we're just, okay, fine, whatever. I get what you're doing.
But still,
let's
it is
not
the
pretend
desire
that's
for another
traditional
person.
model.
I mean, it's a beautiful
It's true.
desire.
It can be, right. A quarter of those who are not married say they're not sure, and 8% say they don't want to get married. So already that is an alarmingly high rate. But then when you look at the number that say they don't want to have kids, it's 18% of them. Among those who don't have kids, that's either married or unmarried without kids. 18% don't want kids, and it's 21% of women. Where it's just like they never want to have kids. Because the question is, do you want to have kids someday?
Yeah.
Not, are you ready to have kids now? But is that even part of the story of the life that you have in mind? And I understand sometimes you'll have someone who says no to that, and it's maybe a protective thing, and then life happens and they meet the right person, they change their views. But still, like there is a huge red flag societal issue there that is not going to be fixed by some easy government plan. Like you're not going to come up with a tax improvement package that changes that number in a marked way. Something much more radical is needed.
Yeah. Conversion.
Yeah, and we got to break that cycle. This cycle of deception that's happening with young people, and it takes them till they're very old to work their way out of the deception and go, wait a second, I actually wanted some things out of life that I was talked out of. We got to take a quick break. Right back with more news of the world from a Catholic perspective. It's the Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live.
Stay with us for more Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Magnificat. Published monthly, Magnificat features texts of daily Mass, prayers, articles, meditations, art commentaries, and more, in step with the liturgical rhythm of the Church, on the web at magnificat.com.
EWTN has launched new YouTube channels dedicated to what you love most. From EWTN News, Daily Mass and Devotions, EWTN shows, radio, religious catalog, and kids, it's all part of our mission to help you grow closer to God through the programs that matter most to you. Visit our main YouTube channel and explore the new navigation bar and subscribe to the channels that speak to your heart. Wherever you are on your journey of faith, there's an EWTN YouTube channel made for you.
Catholic Answers Live, Flannel Panel. Chris is here. Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers. Joe's here, Joe Heschmeyer, apologist extraordinaire, author of A Man Named Joseph, Guardian for Our Time, among many other very fine books. Glad to have you both here. I got to be down in Dallas on the weekend with the Guadalupe Radio Network people.
They're great.
Do you know that every time I'm around Catholic radio people, I feel better about life? I feel better about the world. They're such lovely people.
You know, almost all of the Catholic radio stories track some way, like, and here I'm talking about the regional networks, and my husband and I did such and such. We ran our orthodontia practice, or we drilled oil wells, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever they did. Yeah, right.
And then we said, you know what we ought to do? We ought to set up a Catholic radio tower.
I know.
And then they have, and then they have 40 of them or something. I mean, but.
Right.
They have some kind of, well, I just think of Toya Hall, who runs or founded Guadalupe Radio Network. She's such a delightful lady.
She's one of those people. Oh, she's so delightful, and she's truly Christian and all that, and she's
100% Texan.
She's so smart though that you're a little bit scared of her.
100%.
You're a little bit scared of her.
Yeah, and full on Texan, and she just had this, conversion of heart, and God told her, you need to get a Catholic radio network going, and she's built this magnificent one.
Yeah, right. It's wonderful.
And it's not just in Texas. She's in a bunch of states.
Have you been down there to visit the GRN people, or do you only go north, Joe, when you go visit?
I go all
Catholic?
over. I was just down in Texas last week. So I'm all over the map. I don't always know which network I'm in terms of radio.
You don't know
towers.
where you are.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair.
Thank you for having me. This is a great network. Okay, Joe. They just pat you on the head. Just give your talk, Joe. Thank you so much.
I was at a parish. I was at a radio station. But I will say that is one thing that people don't understand about the cool part of our job is we work with, we get to encounter people at this spiritually rich point where sometimes what they're hearing through Catholic radio or whatever it is we're doing is pivotal towards their spiritual journey. And those are really beautiful, incredible moments. But the people we get to collaborate with behind the scenes are often just the best people.
Yeah.
You might have the impression that Catholic radio hosts are just awful for whatever reason. I'm not going to speculate where you got that. But a lot of the local stations are just amazing.
I'm starting to put two and two together here.
I mean, we could devote the rest of the hour to talking about our friends in this regard. But our friend Raul Caro, out here in the Imperial Valley, JP2 Catholic Radio, retired Border Patrol agent.
And how many stations? He's got like 3 or 4 stations now.
4 or 5. He's got the Brawley one. And actually, he's got the Escondido one here now. He's evangelizing San Diego. Yeah, I'm a retired Border Patrol agent. I
thought I'd start a Catholic radio network.
I think I'll start a Catholic radio network.
I know.
It's great.
But God calls people.
I talked to a guy in the New York area. It might have been Connecticut. I flew into New York. I don't remember where I actually
Oh,
was.
Steve Lee with the
Connecticut.
That's right.
Yeah,
He's
like
fantastic.
An investment banker
or computer tech dude, or maybe investment banker.
He had like I think a pretty successful career.
Yep.
And left it in the middle of it to go to Catholic radio.
Steve Lee is great.
He just felt God. Felt called by God.
He's great.
Beautiful.
Yep.
And none of them are. No, I don't see any of these people resting on their laurels. One thing that I was very impressed with the Guadalupe radio people. By the way, I just want to say Dave Palmer, one of their hosts down there.
He's great.
He did the event, and I think he organized it. They all get involved. I'm sure they're all helping each other. But man, it was a good event. It was a really good event.
And he's married to a lovely Irish woman.
I know, but I'm sure she regrets it. But it was no. Sorry. The thing. Well, now I was going to tell you something about Guadalupe. Oh, nobody's resting on their laurels,
right?
And everybody's going, okay, how are we going to reach Gen Z? How are we going to reach? Like, where are they listening? Where can we reach them? What's the? And it requires hiring young people, and I see them hired. They've got brilliant young people at Guadalupe Radio Network, like
not
Luke
as
Bender.
brilliant as Luke Bender.
No, the great Luke Bender sitting here in the studio with us, so that we don't drive Gen Z away.
I can feel the greatness coming out of his brain.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of greatness.
Yeah.
So I feel great about it. I feel great about the future because they're going to figure it out. They're going to figure out how to reach the next generation, like they already reached a generation.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Yeah, well, Stephen Lee, just going back to him, he made the point of making it Veritas Catholic, not radio, but Veritas Catholic Network. To recognize, like, we want to do this in radio and wherever young people might be tomorrow.
He has the total support of his bishop, Bishop Caggiano.
But bishops support this. You really support these people who are doing this. They're giving it their all for Jesus. More stories coming up on Catholic Answers Live. What was the church like in its infancy? In a word, Catholic. And Joe Heschmeyer has the receipts. In his best-selling book, The Early Church Was the Catholic Church, he gives you the details from the historical records of the first 2 centuries of Christianity. Right now, get a copy for just $10, plus free shipping if you live in the continental United States. Get more information and order The Early Church Was the Catholic Church at theearlychurchwascatholic.com.
What is the Catholic Church? Everyone seems to have an opinion, but the church never quite fits into the boxes people make for it. In The Faith Unboxed, author Andrew Petiprin looks at some of the most common boxes people put the Catholic Church in and explains why they don't fit. In doing so, he brings us closer to what the church really is, the institution founded by Christ. Order The Faith Unboxed today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
You've heard the same tired anti-Catholic arguments again and again, and you know they don't hold up. But explaining why isn't always easy. In The Protestant Fallacies, Parker Manning unpacks the most common objections to Catholicism, exposes their flaws, and makes the Catholic response clear, practical, and even fun. Understand your faith and talk about it with confidence. Get your copy of The Protestant Fallacies today at shop.catholic.com or at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
From the dawn of creation, angels have stood in the presence of God as messengers, warriors, and guardians. Some seek our fall, some intercede for our salvation, and one is assigned to protect you. In the new book, Angelic Answers, Father Mike Driscoll uncovers the truth about angels and their unseen battles. So mysterious to us, and yet so close. Get Angelic Answers today at shop.catholic.com or at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Welcome back, Catholic Answers Live. The whole segment I forgot to get to. I told you guys I was going to do a segment that I didn't get to, so I must have skipped over it in my notes, so we'll get to it now. Pope Leo came out with an encyclical, as you both know, called Magnificent Humanity or something like that. Magnifica Humanitas.
Humanitas.
I don't know. Does it mean magnificent? Yes. What does it mean, Joe, in English? Magnificent humanity?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, that's right. It's showing that there's a dignity, a humanity created by God, and all its grandeur is how it begins. But magnificent humanity is a nice.
I've only read a third of it. Chris Check read the whole thing. How are you doing on it, Joe? Where are you?
Somewhere in between there, probably.
You're between the two of us.
I'm probably closer to the third end. Yeah.
I will say it could have been.
I've read it in a very piecemeal way.
It could have been. So did I.
He wrote it in a very piecemeal way. I mean, look at it.
It could have been edited. It does not need to be as long, or it could have been serialized.
I think that is the best. I don't know what encyclicals are for in this sense. I mean, I know what they're for in a certain sense, but in this sense, like, why do you put something in the form of an encyclical? Is it your intention that people read it, or that some people read it and it informs what they do and then it gets to people? Because if you want people to read it, you don't just get up one morning and drop a 42,000 word document and be like, peace, I'm going back to bed. Like, they're not going to read it. So what do you think an encyclical is for?
So traditionally, Joe, correct me, encyclicals in the main, in the history of the church, were written from the Pope to bishops.
That's without question.
Yes.
True.
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
And so they were intended for bishops to read and then to use the guidance then in the governance of their
But this one was addressed
diocese.
to all people of goodwill.
Well, so Francis actually, I think, is the guy that started this with Laudato Si.
Okay.
Am I not right, Joe?
I'm trying to. I think there's even before him.
I think Francis
the general
is the
trend.
I think Francis is the first
Vatican
one.
II.
Oh, okay. I think Francis is the first one who actually wrote an encyclical to all the people of the world, or to
Yeah,
I
that
think it might have been John the
true,
23rd.
But certainly the. Yeah,
I thought John the 23rd might have done that.
Hochman Terrace.
But this one actually doesn't even say. I said he addressed it to everybody, but I look at it. It says, "Magnificat Humanitas of His Holiness Pope Leo XIV on safeguarding the human person in the time of artificial intelligence," and then it just goes directly into the introduction. So he doesn't say.
I don't know that I'm going to be able to answer your question in the abstract, but I think I'm going to answer it specifically.
Okay.
This is the most significant document to come out, or the most comprehensive treatment of the AI question out there. Has there been a more important document put out about AI for the world to read?
No.
Yeah.
I think that's clearly you're clearly correct. Yes, that's right.
And so when as our friend Father Michael Baggett made to us when we were having lunch yesterday, so it's a little bit longer because the Pope wants to give the context in which he's going to discuss AI.
Right.
And that is the context of Catholic social teaching. And that's why the first two chapters are a summary of, well, I'll just say modern Catholic social teaching because it begins with Leo XIII. And by the way, an excellent summary. If you're unfamiliar with Catholic social teaching, my friends, you ought to at least read the first two chapters of Magnificat Humanitas.
I was thinking you could take the first third of this document and you could teach a college course on, you could use it as the syllabus essentially for your college course on Catholic social teaching.
Sure.
Because he goes, and in a certain way, part of the charm, I guess I'll say, of Catholic social teaching has been that it's been all over the place. Like some of it was in this letter, a little bit of it is in this letter over here, and then there was this synod that covered this, and there was this pope that did these two. And so you kind of had to assemble it yourself. But now the Pope has said, this is what it is. This is what constitutes Catholic social teaching. And so it's very orderly, the thing that he did.
It is. I think it's a little more verbose than it needs to be. Another example of that, I think this is the first time we see treated in an encyclical, whereas it was here, it was there, it was in Paul VI, it was in JP2, it was in Benedict. But now we have an encyclical, the real problem of applying just war theory to war in the present age.
Now that's at the end of the document. I haven't gotten there yet.
It's about in the middle.
No,
it's about in the middle.
Yeah,
it's about in the middle. Yeah.
So
it's paragraph 192.
Yeah,
so it's about 75% of the way through.
The difficulty that is approaching impossible to actually meet the conditions because of proportionality. Because of proportionality, because of the inevitable violence, brutality to non-combatants, because of the lack of clarity of objective. I can think of some examples right now. The real difficulty with meeting the conditions of just war, the lethality of modern weapons, the swiftness in the present age. Can
I say a word on that just as an apologist? Because people will read that and accuse this of being unfaithful to the tradition.
It is totally consistent.
It is totally consistent.
Yes.
It's just saying this thing, this is the bar we've always held war to. And in the past, it seemed very possible to have a war that was not incredibly lethal. And you could legitimately use violence to achieve this end under very specific conditions, and not always. But now, apart from cases of authentic self-defense, because that is an explicit caveat to that, it's not clear how this would, because he says, today more than ever, without prejudice to the right to self-defense in the strictest sense, it is important to reaffirm that the just war theory, which is all too often been used to justify any kind of war, is now outdated. Now, that wording is very intentional. It does not mean it was wrong then. It just means that standard that once worked doesn't now because technology has changed. I know it's very common to say, oh, that morality worked in an older time and it doesn't work anymore. But when it comes to something like the use of weapons of mass destruction and the weapons of war, then no, there really are important technological changes. And it's not just Pope Leo saying this. If you want to use the not super helpful distinctions of conservatives, liberals, traditionalists, all corners, if you read the theological sort of unpacking of just war theory, have come to this same kind of conclusion. Cardinal Ratzinger was saying this before he became Pope Benedict. Cardinal Ottaviani.
Yes.
In 1940 was saying,
or 46,
it doesn't
or
appear
something,
any
yeah.
offensive war during World War II, like not pre-atomic bomb. He has an article in New Blackfriars suggesting that it is no longer foreseeable how you can have an offensive war that meets the conditions of just war theory, because already by that point, technology had gotten so deadly and so gruesome. Now, I would suggest
can I put a footnote in here?
Please.
Ottaviani, my friends, if you don't know, was the head of the Holy Office, or what we now call the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, and not what any of us in this room would refer to as a liberal. This is a man who was deeply concerned about what he thought is what he considered to be some of the theological innovations that perhaps were informing the Second Vatican Council. So a trad, as we would say today, though I think that's kind of a silly...
I mean, Lefebvre loved Ottaviani. Let's put it that way. A lot of other people loved Ottaviani as well.
But by no means some kind of... not a hippie, not some kind of hippie lefty.
But this is... clearly, this is an area where Christianity defies categorization into left and right. That Christ's title of Prince of Peace and Christ's own... teaching on violence and the kingdom of God calls for us to have a much deeper reflection than merely a political or ideological reflection on violence. So, like some of the most conservative saints that you will ever hear about were absolute peaceniks, you know, and some of the most liberal saints that you will ever hear about were absolute peaceniks, because, I shouldn't say absolute, but I'm using it as a kind of exaggerated modifier. I don't mean it in a philosophical sense. But this is an area where Christ's call is so ringing and challenging that it would be really stupid for a Christian to say, well, you know what, I'm going with the conservative position on this, or the liberal position,
or the Republican Party position,
or the
whatever.
Democratic Party position on this. This get this right, because Christ Himself is the Prince of Peace. Get this right. Don't allow any counterfeit here. And so it just defies categorization. This is a Christian, the Christian way of understanding peace. It's this tremendous gift that God has given the world, and I think the Pope is saying we got to live that out in a new way now. We got the situation has changed, and we've got to get. So he's not calling for, I'm going to ban this or ban. That's not what the level of what's happening here. There's calling for a deeper Christian meditation on what we're called to be in the light of weapons that really are utterly terrifying.
Not only weapons, but deliberate strategies and tactics that, for example, deprive the civilian population of food or medicine. Yeah. And if you read the Encyclical, it's impossible not to see current events informing the Holy Father's thought on this question. That's what he's addressing.
But I mean, we got to be careful about current events.
Doing it at the level of principle.
Right. Exactly.
Actually, I was on a call with a few other people with Cardinal Czerny, I think is his name, Czerny. It's embarrassing. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Also because
the Canadian guy,
and my wife is Czech. Yeah. But he was making the same point about the analysis of the document, that it is not meant to be a set of rules. It is to be a set of governing principles. Sure. By which people can use prudence to determine.
Well, that's the fullness of Catholic teaching. That's the fullness of Catholic teaching.
But also Pope Leo it seems to me that because I did read the first third of the document, and one thing you get clearly out of the first third of the document, the rest of it I know the summaries, but I haven't read the words. He's trying to tell us that, look, Catholic social teaching is not a matter of the Catholic Church creating a set of rules and saying these are the rules to follow. He's saying Catholic social teaching since Leo XIII is a dialogue between the church and the world, and that we need to enter into that dialogue not without principles, but with the highest principles and say, okay, how in practice can these be lived out in the world? So it does seem to me that at the root of all of this, he's trying to encourage a dialogue with the world, not a condemnation, but all right.
I'm going to say he's doing more than just having a dialogue.
Okay.
He is continuing a tradition begun by Leo XIII, but of course informed going all the way back to St. Thomas or even Aristotle about what people are for. But he's continuing a tradition, and he is identifying the principles by which, or informed by which, certain decisions about economy, about finance, about property ownership should be made. So I'm sorry, and I know, and maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying. Dialogue sounds to me like, let's talk about it and respect one another's opinions and go along there. He's actually saying, no, there are truths that inform how society, by the way, should be governed, and what the role of the state is, for example. But
what he's not doing is saying that the church knows how to apply all of these principles. That's where the dialogue has to happen.
Very well.
Like I remember when Benedict used to say, I remember in an interview with Benedict where he said, it's really important for the Vatican to listen to American hospitals, because American hospitals are on the cutting edge of these new technologies. And if we don't let them tell us what they're doing, then we don't know how to apply the principles to what they're doing. So there has to be this conversation with the world where we go, all right, well, what is actually happening in these machines that you're building? Like, you need to explain that to us, and we can have a dialogue about. And I don't think that
I'm not certain that's okay. I'm going to say as an analog, it's a C+ or a B. I think the church actually does know, for example, that, and has said as much, that the means of production should be widely distributed, that there is such a thing as the universal destination of goods, that control of the means of production in the hands of a small number of people, be they multinational corporations or a socialist state, violates these principles. I think the church gives maybe a little more specific guidance than you're allowing.
Yeah, but the church doesn't, I don't think the church comes to it knowing what, when you say the universal destination of all created goods is a bedrock of Catholic social teaching. Yeah, but what is, for example, a large language model, and what does it mean for everyone to share in that in a way that's just? I don't think the church knows the answer to that.
Okay, so very well. With the question of LLMs, where so much is still unknown and yet to happen, I get that the church is having this conversation, but I'm sorry, I thought maybe we were talking about the question more
about war.
Well, or even before war. The war stuff is black and white for me, but no questions of distributive justice or economic justice, and I think, by the way, these do apply to the large language models if they are merely in control in the control of the Palantirs of the world and a handful of other such companies. Right. That is a form of control and dominance, which is where technology tends, and that's a point that Leo underscores in the current encyclical.
I'm getting the take a break. I kind of left you out for a minute, Joe. Do you need to say?
I'm
a quick
sorry to
thing before we go?
monopolize.
No, I'll do it after we come back if there's more to say.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Right back with more Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live.
You're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
This is Conversations with Consequences, where we delve deeper into issues affecting our church, our country, and our core, the family.
As Catholics, we need to be informed, aware, and able to talk through some of the tough topics that we're facing in our culture and in our world. Conversations with Consequences gives us the tools to do so.
It's not enough to pray. We have to be a light for the world.
Conversations with Consequences, Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Who was the first Catholic in your family? Were they evangelized by a friend, a coworker, a stranger? Did you ever think that you could be that person that God uses to save a soul? And that soul could save their family, their grandchildren, and generations to come. At St. Paul Street Evangelization, a Catholic nonprofit, we train, equip, and mobilize Catholic disciples to do the urgent work of evangelization. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization, streetevangelization.com.
All right, welcome back. Oh, there's not enough time. We're talking a little bit about the recent encyclical of the Pope on the Flannel Panel. But I did have a question for the two of you. But Joe, I know we went to the break and I said I would let you make a point about Magnificat Humanitas. Flannel Panel, we put on flannel shirts. We talk about the news of the world from a Catholic perspective. Go ahead. You sum up. You conclude our conversation on Magnificat Humanitas, Joe.
Yeah, I'm not going to sum it up, but I will say not enough people have talked about the section on human limitations. And so if you want to check it out, let me find where that is. It is paragraph 118 to like 128. So it's a fairly short read. And the way, look, Chris already mentioned this before. The model for this encyclical was Rerum Novarum. And Rerum Novarum is like the new things. This is just like Leo being like, a bunch of new stuff is happening with the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Back in the 1890s. And now Leo XIV is like a bunch of newer stuff is happening with artificial intelligence. So it's about more than just AI. It's about all the new stuff happening with just globalization, technology, warfare, all this stuff. And so as a result, these things are thematically related in a broad way, but many of the sections kind of stand on their own. So if you understand that this is what it is, it's been mislabeled as like the AI encyclical. It is that, but it's a lot more than that.
Way more.
So I would suggest the section on human limitations. And then the other thing is just people will wonder, like, why is the church stepping into this area at all? And I think the answer to that is pretty clear. A lot of the AI development that's happened hitherto has been done just with the model of, let's see if we can do it. And a question of like, should we do it? It's, the criticism of the scientists in Jurassic Park. They were so concerned about whether they could do it, they didn't ask if they should. I'm sure I'm butchering the line, but that's a lot of what the Pope is doing, of saying like, okay, how should we do these things? What are the principles to be used, not only in what we're looking at right now, but as we move forward, what are the things we should be watching out for? And the beautiful thing is there are a number of people in the relevant sectors that are listening to this, that are actually saying like, oh yeah, we should probably be wondering this. We should be doing more ethical alignment and figuring out. So yeah, maybe they're not ready to go to OCIA and convert. But if the world that they create through their products is a little more consistent with the Catholic vision of the good of the human person, there's real good that can be done here. I know, so I've been on Shameless Popery. The last 3 episodes I've done have been responding to criticisms of Vatican II and post-Vatican II stuff from the Society of St. Pius X. And dialogue gets a bad name. And the idea of like, what are we even doing talking to other religions or other denominations? And this is a really clear area where talking to people who don't agree with us, but maybe are open to listening to what we have to say, can bear really good fruit whether or not it immediately leads to mass conversions.
So that you took it full circle for me, because I was like, why do they write these long documents? And there it is. And I thank you very much for that, Joe. I asked both of you to prepare ideas for what Leo should write for his next encyclical, because of course he listens every day, and we want to make sure we give him the best advice that we can give him. So I'm going to go with the person who I think is more prepared. I'm just guessing. Of the two of you, I think Chris Check will be more prepared. Chris, next encyclical from Pope Leo should be on.
I have his next 5.
You got his next 5.
This is
I told you.
This is only gonna,
I could guess.
This is only going to take 60 seconds. He should reissue.
Yes.
Pius XI's Casta Connubii on marriage, explaining what marriage is and encouraging people to.
That would be a redo
to do it
of an encyclical.
There may be something that he wants to add or bring. How do you update marriage? But anyway. He should
ask the state of California.
He should reissue Paul VI's Humanae Vitae on contraception.
Oh, these are reissues. So you're gonna make him like those companies that reissue albums.
I have two.
I
have 2 new ones. He should reissue Pius XI's Divini Ilius Magistri on the education of Christian youth, which explains what Christian education is for. So, and if he wants,
that's a whole. You didn't just come up with new.
I have 2 new ones.
No, but that's not all you did. You came up with a whole new approach to the encyclical, the reissue.
I think it's a great idea.
Just type at the top of it. I agree with everything in this.
Rock and roll musicians do this all the time.
As my predecessor said, and then have the longest quotation.
Yeah, very good. Well, actually, no, they do this with rock and roll albums all the time. The digital remaster.
Right.
So it would be like a digital.
Or isn't this what Rhino Records does? That's their whole business model. Is they go get a record that's not in circulation anymore, and they reissue it.
These things need to come back in circulation. I have 2 new ones.
All right. Yeah.
One is kind of what we were talking about. He should do something on the problem of wage slavery, whether it's the socialist system or whether it's the multinational corporations. But most of the world lives in a condition of wage slavery because they do not have the means of production. There's a long-standing tradition in Catholic economic thought. He could just go to G.K. Chesterton or Belloc or any one of the Vincent McNabb and do something on wage slavery. But here's the one I really want him to do. I want him to write a letter to Protestants and say, time to come back. It's been 500 years. It's time to come back. Those are the next 5.
Would you like me to go next, Joe, or would you like to go next?
I had an idea to build on something that he'd already said in Magnificat Humanitas, and that ties into human ecology. But basically, and I don't know if there's this is going to fall completely prey to your critique that modern encyclicals are too long, but tying just an encyclical on human ecology, on treating the human person in all of these ways. Like you could tie in all of the themes here with things like the treatment of the unborn, gender, but also things like environmentalism. They're all of these things that sound on the surface like they are unrelated, but they're about treating the human person with dignity and recognizing humanity as something to be discovered and embraced rather than engineered and kind of reinvented. And I think that would be very refreshing. On a much more superficial note, there's a Hootie and the Blowfish song, Only Want to Be With You, where they got sued by Bob Dylan for a verse that is basically just quoting an entire verse of a Bob Dylan song. And I just thought that would be a good thing to do with an encyclical. Just say, as my predecessor says, and then have, 72 paragraphs of direct quotation.
All right, I'll get mine in before we go. You all know that I advocate all the time that we need an encyclical on the parish, so I'm not going to do that. Pope Leo, we need an encyclical from you on how we're going to celebrate the 2000th anniversary of the proclamation of Kingdom of God. Why are we not talking about that we're about to celebrate 2,000 years since the Lord proclaimed the Kingdom of God? I need an encyclical on this. Can we get something down on paper?
And that's beautiful. That's even bigger than America's 250.
You guys are great.
You think that's even bigger than America's 250th, Joe? You un-American papist, you. You shameless papist. He's a shameless papist.
Yeah.
Shameless.
Praise God.
Jesus came proclaiming the kingdom of God. We're coming up on 2,000 years of that. Maybe he'll come back and finish that business soon. Maybe he won't. I don't know. It's up to him. But in the meantime, you've got the Flannel Panel. Joe Heschmeyer, Shameless Papist. Check him out on Shameless Popery. Shameless Popery. Just put that in your search machine and you will find it. Thank you, Joe.
My pleasure.
Thank you for being marginally prepared for this episode as well. I appreciate that. Chris Jack, you over-prepared. I'm so grateful for it. Thank you. I think this was...
I had to make up for a lot of previous episodes.
Where you had under-prepared?
Where I or not prepared.
Well, that's okay. We'll call that under-prepared. That does it for us. We'll see you next time, God willing, right here on Catholic Answers Live.